May the words of my mouth and the meditation of all our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Today we raise the curtain on Holy Week. For the next 7 days, we're invited to walk with Jesus through the final week of his life. This is not an easy journey to make, and that becomes obvious beginning with this morning. Today is Palm Sunday, or rather, as your leaflet rightly titles it, the Sunday of the Passion, Palm Sunday. So which is it? The palms or the Passion, or both? If you're finding this day confusing, you're not alone, so am I. As a priest, I find Palm or Passion Sunday difficult. It's something of a liturgical light nightmare, if you want to know the truth. You know, first there's the figuring out if, where, or how we're going to get people to parade through the streets or around the building and wave palms and sing songs. We took it easy on you this year, but I have to tell you, just ask the staff how many conversations we've had about this. And then there's the Passion narrative. Do we simply read it or dramatize it? How dramatic? Where's everybody going to read from? Who's going to do it? So in many ways, it's not the usual Sunday morning, and it puts people off balance, including me. But I think my discomfort is about something deeper than that. It's about the emotional roller coaster quality of this day. Think about it. In the space of about 20 minutes, we move from the heights of Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem to the depths of his death on the cross. We stand in the sanctuary waving palms and hailing Jesus as the King of Kings, and then we listen helplessly as he is betrayed, arrested, tortured, and crucified. And it's too much to take in. Too much information, too many emotions to process in the space of less than an hour. So I wonder, why do we do this to ourselves, liturgically and emotionally? In fact, I have a suggestion. Why not celebrate the joy of Jesus' triumphal entry this Sunday and the joy of Jesus' resurrection next Sunday, and leave the hard parts of the story, the grim and uncomfortable moments of his betrayal, suffering, and death, for the folks who are willing to show up for the midweek services? Wouldn't that be easier? Sure, it might be easier, liturgically and emotionally. But it wouldn't be the truth. The truth about Jesus' life, or the truth about our lives. For the truth is, and you know this, my friends, life is not easy. Our lives are a jumble of joys and sorrow, a mess of mixed motives and feelings that do not conveniently sort themselves out according to the day of the week. So, as uncomfortable as the emotional highs and lows of this Sunday might be, it's also one of the most true to life, most real days on the liturgical calendar. Most of us would prefer to skip over the suffering and death part of Jesus' story, because frankly, we'd like to skip over the suffering and death part of our story, but it's not an option. But I've discovered it's quite often in the inescapable suffering and death part of our story that we discover the power of Jesus' story, his whole story, with none of the hard parts left out. So we need this day. We need the palms, and we need the passion. We need the glory, and we need the pain. Because on this day, like no other, we see just how fully and how truly Jesus lived as one of us and died as one of us. Jesus knew success and failure. He experienced joy and pain. Jesus lived life as we know it so that we might live life as he knows it, full of love and full of the presence of God. The palms and the passion, the jumbles of joys and sorrows that we all know in this life. What does that look like in your life today? This past week, my 92-year-old mother had a meltdown at her assisted living facility. So my sister and I each took her to our homes for several days to give her and the staff some respite and to kind of figure out what's next for Mom. Mom's been living with early-stage Alzheimer's for several years and has been managing well with assisted living until the last couple of months. But it really wasn't until she spent these last couple of days with me that I realized just how frail and fragile she's become in body, mind, and spirit, and how hard managing well has been for her. Thus the meltdown. Now, truth be told, Mom and I have never had an easy relationship. We push each other's buttons hard and regularly. So the last thing I would have been wanting to do a week before Holy Week was spend 3 whole days with her. I think she probably feels the same about me. So I found myself asking God for the patience and the perspective I just don't have when it comes to her, and God answered those prayers. Yesterday, I was telling a good friend that the last few days with Mom have felt like my personal pre-Holy Week way of the cross. And he responded with this: well, you've seen the way of the cross your mom has been walking for several years. Yes, I have. And the gift I received by walking with her for these 3 days is love. I now have compassion for my mother in her struggles I didn't have before then. Joy and sorrow, struggle and victory, death and life. That is Holy Week, and that is life. How do we hold it all together? Hand in hand with Jesus, who knew joy and sorrow, victory and struggle, death and life. That is the promise and the power of Holy Week. As we walk with him in all these things, we will discover the power of love, which makes all things new. Amen.